Hey, we're in the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, or on 1-18. This is Knowledge and Skill Examination. Knowledge Examinations. The knowledge test is the computer portion of the exams taken to obtain pilot certification. The test contains questions of the objective multiple choice type. This testing method conserves the applicant's time, eliminates any element of individual judgment in determining grades, and saves times in scoring. If pursuing a recreational pilot or private pilot certificate, it's important to become familiar with 14 CFR Part 61, Section 61.23, medical certificates, requirements and duration, 14 CFR Section 61.35, which is knowledge test, prerequisites and passing grades, and 14 CFR Section 61.83, eligibility requirements for a student pilot, for detailed information pertaining to prerequisites and eligibility. If pursuing a recreational pilot certificate, it is important to review 14 CFR Section 61.96, applicability and eligibility requirements, general for additional detailed information pertaining to eligibility, and if pursuing a private pilot certificate, 14 CFR Section 61.103, eligibility requirements, general contains additional detailed information pertaining to eligibility. Sample test questions can be downloaded from Airman Knowledge Test Questions, www.faa.gov/education_research/testing/airman/test_questions/. Each applicant must register to take the test and provide proper identification and authorization proving eligibility to take a particular FAA test. The option to take an untimed sample test will be offered. The actual test is time limited, but most applicants have sufficient time to complete and review the test. Upon completion of the knowledge test, the applicant receives an Airman Knowledge Test report that reflects the score and is embossed with the testing center seal. To pass, a minimum score of 60 must be obtained. When to take the examination. The knowledge test is more meaningful to the applicant and more likely to result in a satisfactory grade if it is taken after beginning the flight portion of the training. Therefore, FAA recommends the knowledge test be taken after the student pilot has completed a solo cross-country flight. The operational knowledge gained by this experience can be used to the student's advantage in the knowledge test. The student pilot CFI is the best person to determine when the applicant is ready to take the knowledge examination. Where to take the examinations? The FAA has hundreds of designated computer testing centers worldwide that administer FAA knowledge tests. These testing centers offer the full range of Airman knowledge tests. Applicants will be charged a fee for the administration of FAA knowledge tests. A complete list of testing centers, their locations, and phone numbers can be downloaded at Airman Certification Frequently Asked Questions, located at www.faa.gov/education_research/testing/airman/test_questions/ or www.faa.gov/licenses_certificates/airman_certification/FAQ/. An applicant can also contact the local FSDO to obtain this information. If the student pilot chooses a 14 CFR Part 141 flight school with test examining authority, the school will administer the knowledge test during the curriculum. Practical examination. The FAA has developed PTSs for FAA pilot certificates and associated ratings. These practical tests are administered by FAA, ASIs, and DPEs. 14 CFR Part 61 specifies the area of operation in which knowledge and skill must be demonstrated by the applicant. Since the FAA requires all practical tests to be conducted in accordance with the appropriate PTSs and the policies set forth in the introduction section of the PTS book, pilot applicants should become familiar with this book during training. PTS, Practical Test Standards. The PTS book is a testing document and not intended to be training syllabus. An appropriately rated flight instructor is responsible for training the pilot applicant to acceptable standards in all subject matter areas, procedures, and maneuvers. Descriptions of tasks and information on how to perform maneuvers and procedures are contained in reference and teaching documents such as this handbook. A list of reference documents is contained in the introduction section of each PTS book. Copies may be obtained downloading from the FAA website, www.faa.gov. Purchase of print copies from the GPO, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or via their official online bookstore at www.access.gpo.gov. The flight proficiency maneuvers listed in 14 CFR Part 61 are the standard skills requirement for certification. They are outlined in the PTS as areas of operation. These are phases of the practical test arranged in a logical sequence within the standard. They begin with pre-flight preparation and end with post-flight procedures. Each area of operation contains tasks, which are comprised of knowledge areas, flight procedures, and/or flight maneuvers appropriate to the area of operation. The candidate is required to demonstrate knowledge and proficiency in all tasks for the original issuance of all pilot certificates. When to take the practical exam. 14 CFR Part 61 establishes the ground school and flight experience requirements for the type of certification and aircraft selected. However, the CFI best determines when an applicant is qualified for the practical test. A practice practical test is an important step in the flight training process. The applicant will be asked to present the following documentation: FAA Form 8710-1 for sport pilot applicants, application for an Airman certificate and/or rating with the flight instructor's recommendation, an Airman knowledge test report with a satisfactory grade, a medical certificate not required for a glider or balloon, and a student pilot certificate endorsed by a flight instructor for solo cross-country, airplane, and rotorcraft, and for the make and model of aircraft. To be used for the practical test: driver's license or medical certificate for sport pilot aircraft. Applications: the pilot log book records, gonna need that. A graduation certificate from an FAA approved school, if applicable. The applicant must provide an airworthy aircraft with equipment relevant to the areas of operation required for the practical test. He or she will also be asked to produce and explain the aircraft's registration certificate, aircraft's airworthiness certificate, aircraft's operating limitations or FAA approved aircraft flight manual if required, aircraft equipment list, required weight and balance data, maintenance records, applicable airworthiness directives. For a detailed explanation of the required pilot maneuvers and performance standards, refer to the PTSs pertaining to the type of certification and aircraft selected. These standards may be downloaded free of charge from the FAA. They can be purchased from the Superintendent of Documents or GPO bookstores. Most airport fixed-based operators and flight schools carry a variety of government publications and charts, as well as commercially published materials. Very good. Who administers the FAA practical examination? Due to the varied responsibility of the FSDOs, practical tests are usually given by the DPEs. An applicant should schedule the practical test by appointment to avoid conflicts and wasted time. A list of examiner names can be obtained from the local FSDO. Since the DPE serves without pay from the government for conducting practical tests and processing the necessary reports, the examiner is allowed to charge a reasonable fee. There is no charge for the practical test when conducted by the FAA inspector. We'll hold off right there. That is 1-20. Next, we'll go into role of the certified flight instructor. See ya.